I'm going to give you the top 25 airport and airline tips and tricks. I have compiled the absolute best list on all of YouTube. So if you're ready, let's jump right into the video. So to start off this video, I'm going to be giving you the tips that you should follow before you head to the airport, because this is going to save you so much time and headache when you actually get to the airport. So tip number one, the first tip is to make sure you bring an empty water bottle with you. And that's because airport water is super expensive, and because of the rules, you cannot bring liquids and gels through security, so it's always good to pack a water bottle to bring with you. Tip number two is to research SIM cards or eSIMs before you go on your trip, because there's nothing worse than landing in your destination and not knowing where you can get a data plan or where you can get a phone plan. I recently went to Greece and I used Holify. They're an eSIM company. You can research them. There's multiple companies out there where you can get an eSIM from, so do your research. But make sure you have a plan for which phone provider you're going to use before you land in your new country, so you're not struggling and looking around for the best SIM provider once you get there. Now, tip number three is a new trend that a lot of travelers are doing, including myself, and that is packing an AirTag in your luggage. An AirTag is a product made by Apple. It makes it super easy for you to see at all times where your luggage is, and if your luggage gets lost, it's way easier to be able to track and find out where your luggage is currently located if you have an AirTag located in your bag. And yes, AirTags are completely safe and they have been cleared by all the flying associations. The next tip is to tie an old t-shirt that's a vibrant color, or tie a rag that's a vibrant color to your suitcase. That way, when your suitcase comes down the conveyor belt, it is easily recognizable. You can know it's your suitcase right away. Either that, or I recommend putting a ton of stickers or pins on your luggage. And the reason I recommend this is because it makes your suitcase way easier to identify when it comes down the conveyor belt right away. You will know that it's your suitcase. Countless times I've seen passengers pick up the wrong suitcase and almost leave with it. So if you actually have an identifier on your suitcase, like a t-shirt or old rag, you'll know right away that it's yours, and it'll make the process so much easier when you're trying to find your bag. The next tip is to pack a portable charger or power bank with you, because you never know if your phone will die when you're at the airport or in the airplane. Next up, make sure you always check in online for your flight before you go to the airport. This can make the check-in process way easier when you actually get to the airport, so I always recommend always checking in online before you get to the airport. Now, when it comes to checking in online, when you check in online, most likely you'll be able to pick your seat. I recommend picking a seat closer to the front of the plane, because that means once the plane lands and you deplane, you'll be one of the first passengers off the plane. The next tip is, if your flight has a meal offer, make sure you select your meal when you do your booking for your flight, or if you can, select it at the online check-in. This will guarantee that you get your meal first before the other passengers, so if you're hungry on your plane, you'll be getting your meal first, and that'll be good for you. The next tip I'm going to share with you, if you're flying for your partner or friend and you want to share a whole row together, the best thing to do is to book the aisle seat and the window seat and leave the middle seat blank. Most likely this seat will not get booked because it is not desirable. No one wants to sit in the middle, and if someone does book the middle seat, you can compromise with them and see if they'll switch a few for the aisle or window, so you and your friend or partner can sit together. The next tip I have for you is to download everything before you get to the airport. So if you want to listen to podcasts, watch Netflix, watch TV shows, make sure you download all this, because you never know how the Wi-Fi is going to be at the airport, and on the airplane maybe it doesn't have in-flight entertainment, so you can watch and listen to everything you downloaded on the plane and not have to worry about downloading it. The next tip I want to give you is to make sure you pack lots of snacks for your trip, because you never know when you're going to be hungry, and airline food and airport food is super expensive. You're always better off packing snacks like chips, gummies, candy, all that stuff. Bring it with you. If you want, you can even bring a sandwich, because it's going to save you so much money, and you're going to be so thankful you did it when you get hungry on your flight. The next tip is to make sure you bring one of those neck pillows. Make sure you pack one of those for your flight, because you never know when you're going to get tired. I always bring it, no matter if it's a short or long haul flight, because it's always good to have it on you. You can always use it to rest when you're on your flight. Another tip I recommend before any flight is to take emergency C. That is a vitamin drink full of vitamin C that's going to help you in case you get sick, because on a flight there's lots of germs, there's lots of bugs going around. You're better off just taking some vitamin C before your flight, because in case you do get sick when you land, this is going to help you boost your immune system and make you feel a lot better. My next tip is such a basic tip, but I've also screwed this up in the past, so I want to share with you. Always make sure when you're traveling you have a pen on you, because you never know what custom or immigration forms you need to fill out on your flight, and it's always good just to have a pen. So never leave without packing a pen. Now, no one likes paying fees for overweight bags, but unfortunately this happens all the time, and the one way you can avoid this is by weighing your suitcase at home before you leave for your flight. So the best way to do this is just put it on your scale, or you can actually hold the suitcase while you go on the scale, and that will give you the weight of you plus the suitcase, and you just minus your own weight. You can also buy a little device you hook onto the suitcase and you pick it up and it gives you the weight. I'll link that on Amazon down below. But besides that, yes, I always recommend weighing your suitcase at home before you get to the airport. The next tip is to make sure you always have plans for your transportation before you leave. Everyone's done this before. You get to a new place, a new country, and you're like, oh, do I take a subway? Is there Uber? Is there taxi? And there's people outside the airport with signs telling you, hey sir, come with me, I'll give you a ride. You want to do your research on this before you leave. For example, on a recent trip to London, this was our first time going to London, UK, so we did our research for the best transportation options from the airport, and realized that the London airport actually has a subway connected to it. So we watched some videos and figured out how they get to the subway from the airport, and everything we researched beforehand really helped us get to the subway, get on there, get to our hotel. So I always recommend do your research about your transportation when you arrive before you leave. And my last tip for you before you leave for the airport is the research travel credit cards. These can be super handy for gaining points and helping you get into lounges at all different airports. So always recommend signing up for a travel credit card if you do travel a lot. Okay, so my next two travel tips are going to be about the security at the airport once you get there. And the tip number one is to make sure you put everything into your backpack or bag. This makes it so much easier, and make sure your valuables are secure when they go through the x-ray machine. So typically what I do at the airport once I get to security is I open my backpack, I put my iPhone in there, my keys, my wallet and everything, and I seal my backpack and put it through the x-ray machine. And once it goes through the x-ray, everything's in my bag. I can open it up, take it out, re-put them back in my pockets, everything's organized. It just makes the whole process way easier when you're going through security. Now my next tip for security is to join a trusted traveler program like Nexus or like TSA PreCheck. This is going to save you a lot of time if the security line is busy. It's also going to make it so you don't have to take your shoes off, and it's going to make the whole security process so much faster and easier than if you go through the regular line. So I recommend signing up for a trusted traveler program just to make the security process at the airport way easier. Okay, you made it through security and now you're in the terminal. One of the best tips once you arrive in the terminal is to look at the screen, make sure your gate is still the same, and then actually walk over to your gate and make sure it is there. Because sometimes gates get moved or they're in different areas. So it's always best right away to walk over to your gate. And it's also good because let's just say you don't walk over to your gate when you get there, and later on they're calling last boarding and you're running to your gate and you're not sure where it is. That can be a really hectic moment. So to avoid all that, make sure once you get in the terminal to walk to your gate right away. So once you find your gate, your next tip is to see if you can get into one of these airport lounges if possible. You can get an access usually through your credit card, or you can purchase access online, or sometimes you can purchase access right at the lounge. It's really good if you're at the airport super early, like you have 2 or 3 hours to kill. These lounges have food, drinks, snacks, everything you could possibly need, and it's way more comfortable than sitting in the actual terminal. So take a look at your credit card if you can actually get into one of these lounges, or purchase access if you want to get into one. The next tip is, let's just say unfortunately your flight gets canceled or it gets moved. Look in to see what kind of compensation the airline will give you. You can view this online, or you can actually go to the gate and talk to the agent and see what they're going to offer to you. A lot of times when flights get delayed too, they do give food vouchers for you to get food in the airport. I've seen other passengers get that, and I've also received that myself. So it's always good to look into what compensation you can get when there's delays and cancellations. The next tip I want to share with you, if you are traveling of no carry-on bags, do not be on a rush to board your flight. You can actually be the last one in on your flight. Let the big crowd go. Let everyone rush in and get on the plane. And once you see that line move down, you can walk up to the gate and board with ease. No one in front of you, no one behind you. And just get on the plane, get to your seat. Don't have to worry about crowds. So the best thing I recommend if you're traveling with no carry-on bags is to board last. Now, once you are on your flight, and if you are traveling with a carry-on bag, make sure the carry-on bag is either sitting right above you or right in front of you. You don't want to put your carry-on bag behind you because once the plane lands and people deplane, people are not going to like you pushing to the back of the plane to get your bag because everyone just wants to get off the plane. Now my last and final tip in this video is such a basic tip, but unfortunately even me myself sometimes I forget this tip, and that's to bring gum with you on the plane, because gum is the best thing to distract you if you're a nervous flyer or you have anxiety about flying. And it's also good to help you prevent your ears from popping and just really balances everything out. So I always recommend packing gum for your flight and bringing it on board, and during takeoff and landing, just chewing gum. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. Let me know your best airport hacks if you have them. And if you can, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps the channel grow and will help fellow travelers find this video. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.